Hello, my name is Mayanka. I am accounts and finance trainer from UPLETS. Today, we will discuss GST. In this class, we will discuss about the GST. What is GST? This is part 1 of such class or of such topic. So now we will start the introduction of GST. Introduction of GST. First, we will discuss what is the direct tax and indirect tax. The GST is an indirect tax. But before the deeply discussion on such topic, first we will discuss what is direct tax and what is indirect tax. So we can understand the GST properly. Taxes are classified into two parts. There are two type of taxes. Number one is direct tax and number two is indirect tax. Tax are classified into two parts. Number one is direct tax and number two is indirect tax. Direct tax. What is the meaning of direct tax? The direct tax is a tax which is charged. The direct tax is a charge which is charged directly on the taxpayer, and it is directly paid by the taxpayer. Means the tax which is directly charged by the government from the taxpayer, and the amount is paid directly by the taxpayer, then such amount of tax will be known as direct tax, which is directly imposed on the taxpayer and which is directly paid by the taxpayer to the government. For the example, income tax. For the example, income tax. Income tax is a tax which is paid by the taxpayer on his income, and it is paid to the government. It cannot be shifted from one person to another. Is that the direct tax cannot be shifted by the one person to the another person. It cannot be shifted by one person to the another person. So it is to be known as direct tax. Is that the tax which is directly paid by the taxpayer to the government? It is to be known as direct tax. It cannot be transferred or it cannot be shifted from one person to another. The next is indirect tax. What is the meaning of indirect tax? The indirect tax is a tax. Indirect tax is a tax which is or which can be shifted by the taxpayer to the someone. Means it is passed by one person to another, and finally it is reached to the consumer, and it is it is normally borne by the consumer. It is normally borne by the consumer. So the indirect tax is a tax which is shifted from one person to another person, and it is borne by the consumer. So it is not a direct tax, it is a indirect tax. For the example, service tax, sales tax, these all are taxes. These are the taxes which are shifted by the one person to the another person. So such a tax is to be known as indirect tax. Such tax is to be known as indirect tax. In the case of indirect tax, the burden of the tax is borne by the consumer. It is borne by the consumer, and the consumer is liable to pay. And the consumer is liable to pay such a tax. In the case of indirect tax, the such a tax is shifted by the manufacturer to wholesaler, wholesaler to retailer, retailer to consumer. And such a tax is normally borne by the consumer. It is borne by the consumer. So it is to be known as indirect tax. Means it is shifted from one person to another, and it is normally paid by the consumer to the government. Indirect tax are levy on consumption, expenditures, privileges, or right, but not income or the properties. Because the indirect tax is a tax which is applicable on the consumption, on the expenditures, on the privileges, or on the right. It is not applicable on incomes, because on the income tax is applicable, and on the property tax or the wealth tax is applicable. In India, before the introduction of GST, there are number of indirect tax. There are number of indirect tax, just like excise duty, custom duty, service tax, sales tax, CST, VAT, entertainment tax, purchase tax, tax on lottery, tax on betting and gambling, luxury tax, tax on advertisement. Before the introduction of GST, there are number of taxes. There are number of taxes, but after the introduction of GST, there is only a single tax. There is only a single tax, which is to be known as GST. Which is to be known as GST. There is only a single tax. Now, we will discuss the features of indirect taxes. The features, the features of indirect taxes. Number one, an important source of revenue. The indirect tax is one of the important and the major source of revenue for the government, because because the government earn the amount of taxes from the different way. In the case of indirect tax, it is applicable on the different product, on the consumption, on the expenditure, and such amount of tax is paid by the person, by the consumer to the government. So this is one of the important source of revenue to the government. Government earn very high amount of revenue from such indirect tax. In India, indirect tax contribute more than 50% of the total revenue of central or state government. Means if the government is earning 100 crore rupees of total tax, that more than 50% of such 100 crores will be arise from the indirect tax, from the indirect tax. So it is one of the important source of income or source of revenue for the government. Number two, tax on commodities and services. Indirect tax is a tax which is levied on the communities and services. Means it is applicable or it is levied on the communities, on the goods at the time of supply, at the time of manufacturing, or at the time of sale and the purchase. Instead, the indirect tax is a tax which is applicable or which is levied on the goods and the services. It is levied at the time of manufacturing of goods, at the time of supply, at the type of import and the export of goods and services. So it is commonly known as commodity tax. It is commonly known as commodity tax. So the indirect tax is a tax which is levy on goods and which is levy on services. It is levy on supply of services. So the indirect tax is a tax which is applicable on commodities and services. Number 3, shifting of burden. Shifting of burden. Indirect tax is a tax. In the case of indirect tax, the burden of the tax is shifted from one person to another. One person to another. For the example, the amount of GST is paid by the supplier of goods when there is the payment of GST. Then the payment of GST is made by the supplier of goods, and the supplier will recover such amount of GST from the buyer. He will recover such amount of GST from the buyer, because when he will sell such goods to the buyer, then he will recover the amount of such goods plus the amount of tax. He will recover the amount of such goods plus the amount of such tax. Then he will recover the amount of such GST. When such supplier sells such goods to the consumer, then the consumer will pay such amount of goods plus the amount of GST. So normally the amount of such a GST is borne by the consumer. So this is a tax. The indirect tax is a tax which is shifted from one person to another. It is shifted from one person to another. Number 4 feature is no prescription of of direct pinch. Is that in the case of indirect tax, the tax is paid by the consumer or by the taxpayer indirectly, but there is no any direct there is no direct pinch to pay it, because when there is the manufacturing of any goods, then the manufacturer will pay the amount of tax when he will supply it to the wholesaler or to the retailer. The retailer will sell it to the consumer and he will charge the amount of goods plus the amount of tax. So the consumer is indirectly he will bear the such burden of tax. Indirectly he will bear the burden of such tax. He is not directly bear it. So there is no direct pain in the respect of payment of such tax. He don't have any knowledge, such consumer don't have any knowledge about the tax. He is thinking that he is paying the amount of such goods. He is paying the amount of such goods. So there is no any direct pain in the respect of payment of such tax to the consumer. Sorry, by the consumer to the government, because the consumer is paying the amount of goods. So there is no prescription of direct pinch. The next feature is inflationary. Inflationary. Tax imposed on the goods or on the services cause an all-round price spiral. Is that in the case of indirect tax, when the tax is imposed, when the tax is levied on the goods or on the services, then it creates a price spiral. There is the creation of price spiral. Is that due to these taxes, there are the changes or there are the increase in the price of goods and services. Means when the goods is manufactured by the manufacturer and the manufacturer sold such goods to the wholesaler. Manufacturer charge cost plus profit and the amount of GST. The wholesaler sells such amount to the retailer. He will charge the amount for the value of such goods plus amount of GST. The price will be increased. And such a retailer sells such goods to the consumer. He will charge cost of such goods, profit and the amount of GST. So the price is automatically increased of such goods. So the indirect tax has a feature of inflation, means increase in the value. Next feature is wide tax base. Wide tax base. In the case of indirect tax, the indirect tax has a very wide tax base, because in the case of direct tax in the case of indirect tax, mainly all the taxes which are levied on product or which are levied on services are fall in indirect tax. Is that majority of the product or majority of the services are subject to indirect tax with the low threshold. Means on mostly all the goods and all the services are taxable under the indirect taxation. Next, promotes social welfare. Promotes social welfare. The indirect tax, in the case of indirect tax, when there is the higher charges of taxes, means higher tax are imposed on the goods and services. In the case of indirect tax, the high rate of tax charged by the government on the consumption of harmful product. Is that, for the example, if there is any alcoholic product or there is any tobacco product, these all are the harmful product. These all are the harmful product. So the amount of tax which is charged by the government on such product is higher. So the rate of tax on such a product is higher, so that due to the higher rate, the consumption can be less because these products are harmful. These products are harmful. So government charge high rate of tax on such a harmful product. This not only check their consumption but also enables the government to collect substantial revenue. On the basis of such collection of higher rate of tax, the government collect substantial and a more amount of revenue. For example, there is a alcoholic liquor or alcoholic product. The government charge a higher rate of GST. So when there is any sale of such an alcoholic product, then the government earn more revenue, more tax, or more amount from the person. So on the basis of this, the government can collect substantial revenue. It will collect substantial revenue. Regressive in nature. The GST is a tax, or the indirect tax is a tax which is regressive in nature. It is regressive in nature. Is that in the case of indirect tax, the tax is paid by the each of the person or by any of the person equally. Means there is the same rate of indirect tax. In the case of direct tax, there are the different tax slab rates. If there is any person who is poor, then the tax rate will be different. And if there is any person who is rich, then the tax rate will be different. But in the case of indirect tax, there is the same rate for each person. For the each person. Is that if there is any person who is rich or if there is any person who is poor, then both will pay same rate of tax. Both will pay same rate of tax. There is no any differences in the tax rate in the case of in the case of poor person or in the case of rich person. Is that the tax rate will be same. There is no differences in the respect of rates. Now we will discuss. Now we will discuss the roadmap of GST in India. Roadmap of GST in India means genesis of GST in India. When it is introduced, we will discuss the process of introduction of GST in India. In 2000, BJP government start the discussion. In 2000, BJP government start the discussion in the respect of GST. Means they start discussion on GST by setting up a empowered committee. In 2000, the BJP set a committee for the discussion on GST. Then in 2006, announcement to GST for the first time was made by the Union Finance Minister. In 2006, the Union Finance Minister announced about the GST during budget of 2007-8 that it would introduce from 1st April 2010. In 2006, the finance minister announced that such a GST law will be applicable or it will be introduced. It will be introduced from the 1st April 2010. It will be introduced from 1st April 2010. Then in 2009, first discussion paper was released. First discussion paper was released by the Empowered Committee. Empowered Committee issued or released first paper, first discussion. In 2011, Constitution Act or Constitution Bill introduced and subsequently released, subsequently lapsed. In 2011, Constitution Bill introduced and subsequently lapsed. Then after in 2013, Goods and Service Tax Network GSTN, which is introduced by the private company. GSTN, a private company was set up to provide the IT background for the GST. Means there is a GST network which is introduced or which is developed by a private company so that they can provide the IT backbone to the GST. The GST network is a network which is to be considered as backbone, IT backbone of the government, of the GST. So in 2013, it is provided. In 2014, the Constitution Bill was introduced in Lok Sabha. In 2014, the Constitution Bill was introduced in Lok Sabha. And then after in 2016, in August 2016, the Constitution Act was enacted. The Constitution Act was enacted in 2016, August in 2016, and in September 2016, first GST Council meeting. Done. First GNC Council meeting has been made in September 2016. Then after in March 2017, GST Council recommends in 2017, GST Council recommends the CGST service, CGST, Central Goods and Service Tax, SGST, State Goods and Service Tax, UTGST, Union Territory Goods and Service Tax, and Compensation Act. In 2017, GST Council recommend the CGST, SGST, UTGST, and Compensation Cess Act in March 2017. Then in April 2017, the CGST, UTGST, IGST, and Compensation Cess Act passed in 2017 April. CGST Act, IGST Act, UTGST Act, and Compensation Act passed in April 2017. In May 2017, GST Council recommend the rates and taxes. The rates and taxes are recommended by the GST Councils in 2017 May. In June 2017, all state except Jammu and Kashmir, all state except Jammu and Kashmir passed their SGST tax. Means CGST, IGST, and UTGST and Compensation Cess Act passed in April 2017, and state tax means SGST passed by all states except Jammu and Kashmir in June 2017. And on 30 June 2016, 18th GST Council meeting done. 18th GST Council meeting done in June 2018. In 2016, sorry. 1st July 2017, GST launched. 1st July 2017, GST launched. And 8th July 2017, SGST Act passed by the Jammu and Kashmir. In June 2017, all state passed SGST Act except Jammu and Kashmir, and Jammu and Kashmir passed their SGST Act in 8th July 2017, and IGST ordinance promulgated to extend GST to J and K. So from 2017, the provision of GST are applicable. This is the proper roadmap of GST. When it is introduced, when the bill is passed in Lok Sabha, when the bill is passed in Rajya Sabha, and when CGST Act introduced, when IGST Act passed, when SGST Act passed by the states. So this is the proper roadmap of GST. From 1st July 2017, GST is applicable. Now we will discuss the concept of GST. Now we will discuss the concept of GST. The GST is a value-added tax. The GST is a value-added tax, and it is a levy on the supply of goods, supply of services, or both. Is that the GST is a tax which is a levy on supply? Is that manufacturing or the sale of goods and the provision of service? Is that the GST is applicable on goods as well as on service? It is applicable on supply. GST offers comprehensive and the continuous chain of tax credit from from the producer point and service provider point up to the relator's retails label or the consumer label. Is that in the case of GST, there is a continuous chain of tax credit. Means in this case, the person can take the credit of the tax which is paid by him. For the example, there is a manufacturer who is manufacturing any good and he sold such or supplies such goods to the wholesaler to the wholesaler and he charged the amount of such goods plus the amount of GST. The wholesaler pays such amount and such wholesalers sell the goods to the retailer. Then the retailer pay the value of such goods plus the amount of GST. Plus the amount of GST. So the wholesaler indirectly charged the amount of tax which is paid by him to the manufacturer from the retailer. So the credit, so he has recovered the amount of such tax which is paid by him and he can adjust it from his amount which is already paid by him to the manufacturer. So there is a proper chain of tax credit. When such a retailer sold such goods to the consumer, then he will charge the amount of such a product plus the amount of GST. So he will charge or he will recover the amount of such a tax from the consumer. So there is a proper chain of tax credit. Is that in the case of GST, there is the proper chain of credit. There is the proper chain of credit because in the case of indirect tax, the tax is indirectly borne by the consumer. It is indirectly borne by the consumer because the consumer cannot shift such tax to the another person. He is indirectly pay such amount to the government. The supplier at each stage is permitted to avail credit of GST, which is paid on the purchase of goods or supply of service, or he can set off against the credit. He said in the case of GST, the supplier is required to he is required or he is permitted to avail the credit of GST. According to the previous example, they can take the credit of GST which is paid by them on the supply. Is that when they purchase any goods or any service from another person, then they will pay the amount or the value of such goods plus the amount of GST. And when they sell such goods to the another person, then they will recover such amount of GST from such person. So they can set off such amount of GST which is recovered by them with the amount of GST which is payable by them. Is that in the case of GST, only the consumer is indirectly bear the burden of GST. In GST, the consumer indirectly bear the burden of GST. Since only the value added at each stage is taxed under GST, there is no tax or there is no tax on tax. Means in the case of GST, there is no double taxation. And there is no cascading of tax under the GST. Means there is no tax on tax. There is no double taxation on GST. The same can be understood better with the help of following example. Now we will discuss our example to understand to understand the concept of GST. For the example, there is a manufacturer and there is a distributor, there is a retailer and a consumer. First, the manufacturer manufacture a goods and the cost is 1 lakh rupees. The cost is 1 lakh rupees. He supplies such goods to the distributor and he will charge the amount of GST at the rate of 18%. He will charge the amount of GST at the rate of 18%. So the total amount of GST will be 18,000 rupees. Total amount of GST will be 18,000 rupees. Is that the amount of GST? The amount of GST which will be paid by manufacturer to the government will be 18,000. Paid to government is 18,000 and the ITC will be nil. ITC will be nil. In the case of distributor, the cost of the product is 1 lakh. The cost of the product is 1 lakh and he will add the amount of profit. The profit will be 11,200 rupees. So the total sale price will be 1,11,200. 1,11,200. And when the distributor sells such product to the retailer, he will charge the amount of GST. The GST will be 18%. The GST will be 18%. So the GST will be 1,11,200 into 18%. It will be 20,016 rupees. Total amount of GST will be 20,016 rupees. And he is already paid, means input tax credit he can avail is 18,000, which is paid by him to the manufacturer. So the net amount which is required to be paid by him to the government is 20,060 minus 18,000. Is that 2,060 rupees? 2,016 rupees. When such a distributor sell or supply such product to the retailer, then the amount will be cost of the product is 1,11,200 plus the amount of profit is 24,640. So the sale price will be 1,35,840 rupees. 1,35,840 rupees. When he will supply such product to the consumer, then he will charge the amount of GST. So the amount of GST will be 18%. So the GST will be 1,35,840 into 18%. 1,35,840 into 18%. So the GST is 24,451.20 rupees. 24,451.20 rupees. And the amount of tax which is already paid by the retailer to the distributor is 20,060 rupees. 20,060 means he has ITC 20,060. So the actual amount and the net amount which will be paid by the retailer to the government will be 24,451.20 minus 20,016 rupees is equal to 4,435.20 paisa. This is the amount which is required to be paid by the retailer to the government. Now, when such a retailer sells such product to the consumer, then he will pay net amount of GST to the government is 4,435 rupees 20 paisa. And the consumer will purchase it at the amount of sale price is 1,35,840 plus the amount of GST. Means the total amount is 1,60,000 291 plus 91.20 paisa. He will not avail any amount of GST. He will not avail any amount of GST. So the total amount of tax which is borne by the consumer is 18,000 plus 2016 plus 4,435 rupees 20 paisa is equal to 24,451.20 paisa. So in this case, the total amount of tax is borne by the consumer. Total amount of tax is borne by the consumer, and there is no double taxation, and there is no any cascading effect. There is no any cascading effect. So the tax is ultimately borne by the consumer. Ultimately borne by the consumer. So we will check. In the first case, in the case of manufacturer, the value addition is 1 lakh into 18%, 18,000. It is paid by the manufacturer to the government. In the case of second, there is a value addition of 11,200. So the total amount of GST on 11,200 is 2016, which is paid by the distributor to the government. In the case of retailer, value addition is 24,640 and the GST is 4,435 on 24,000. So it is paid to the government. Means there is no double taxation. There is no double taxation. So on the basis of such a discussion or on the basis of such example, we have understand there is no cascading effect or there is no double taxation under the GST, and under the GST, the burden of tax is ultimately borne by the consumer. It is ultimately borne by the consumer. Now we will discuss the need for GST in India. What is the requirement? What was the requirement to introduce GST in India? Requirement of GST in India. Need for GST in India. Number one, deficiency in the value added taxation system. Deficiency in the value added taxation system. Under the earlier income tax regime, means before the introduction of GST, there are the different tax systems in India. Means there are excise duty, custom duty, there is service tax, there are sand VAT, and many other taxes in India. There are many other taxes in India. Is that there is the central excise duty and there is the state VAT. There are the central excise duty and there are the many state taxes. And there is the deficiency in the respect of value addition. Is that under the earlier income tax regime, despite the introduction of principle of taxation of value added in India at the central level in the form of central excise and at the state level in the form of state VAT. It is applicable. It is applicable. It is always remain piecemeal and fragmented on the account of following reason. There are some following reason. Number one, certain transactions were subject to double taxation. In the case of old income tax regime, there is the certain transactions which are double taxed. Which are double taxed means certain transaction was subject to double taxation. There are certain transaction on which double taxation is made. For the example, there is the sale of software. There is a sale of software. So in the case of software, the sales tax is applicable as well as service tax is applicable. So there is the double taxation. There is the double taxation, and such double tax is borne by the consumer. It is borne by the consumer. It is applicable in the case when we can't find the differences between the goods and services. When we can't find the differences between the goods and service, then both tax will be applicable. Means service tax as well as the tax which is applicable on goods. So such transaction taxed double, means there is the double taxation. For the example, in the previous tax regime, software are subject to both on the software service tax as well as VAT applicable, because the software is considered as sale of goods and it is also considered as service. It is the sale of goods and it is also involved the services. So in the case of sale of goods, the VAT is applicable, and in the case of service, the service tax is applicable. So there is the double taxation. The second reason is SAN VAT does not include chain of value addition in the distribution trade after the stage of production. In the case of old income tax law, the SAN VAT did not include the chain of value addition in the distributive trade after the production of the goods. Similarly, in the case of state tax or state levy, SAN VAT lid on the goods was not removed, leading to the cascading of taxes. There is an example. On the basis of such example, we will understand such point. For the example, under the previous tax regime, if the goods were manufactured for 10,000, if there is a goods and it is manufactured for rupees 1,000, and the excise duty is 12.5%, means the goods manufactured is 10,000 rupees, excise duty is 12.5%, and the VAT is payable is 14.30 14.30%. So the amount of the bill will be, assessable value is 1,000 rupees plus excise duty, which is 12.5%. So the total amount, so the excise duty will be 1,000 into 12.5%. It is 1,000, sorry, 125 rupees. So the total taxable amount for the VAT is 1,125. The rate of the VAT is 14.30%. The rate of VAT is 14.30%, 14.30%. So the amount of VAT will be 1,125 into 14.30%. It will be 160.88. 160.88. So the total invoice value is 1,125 plus 160.88. So the total value 1,285.88 paisa. This is the total invoice value. So there is the double taxation. Is that the VAT is calculated on assessable value as well as on excise duty. It is calculated on excise duty also. So there is the double taxation. To remove this double taxation, there is a requirement to introduce a tax which can remove such effect. So GST was introduced. Third reason, though SAN VAT and state level tax are essentially value-added taxes set off one against the credit of another was not possible in our previous tax regime. If there is any person, he has sandbag, he has a credit of sandbag, and he want to adjust it with state level tax. Means if there is a credit of sandbag and he want to use such sandbag for the payment of VAT, then he cannot do so. Means the credit, the set off or the adjustment with one another is not possible. Means if there is any person who has a credit of one and he want to adjust with another, then the person can't do so. Is that sandbag and VAT tax will not be adjusted with each other. In the case of previous tax regime, there are the several taxes. There are the several taxes which are levied by the state, such as luxuries tax, entertainment tax, and such tax were not subsumed in VAT. Means they are the separate from VAT. Hence, a single transaction. Hence, in this case, in the case when there is a single transaction, there are multiple taxes which are levied on the single transaction. Because in the state there are different taxes, and these different taxes are applicable on such on these product or on these goods. So there is a requirement to pay different taxes in the previous tax regime. Next reason is VAT on goods. VAT on goods was not integrated with tax on services. If there is any VAT, means if there is any person who has a credit of VAT and he want to adjust it with the service tax, he can't do so. So there is no credit, there is no proper credit. With service sector being the fastest growing sector in the economy, the exclusion of service from the tax base of the state potentially reduce their tax boundaries. Next reason was CST was another source of distortion in terms of its cascading. It was not beaten. The CST cannot be adjusted, or it cannot be adjusted with the VAT. It cannot be adjusted with the VAT. Being an origin-based tax, CST was also against one of the basic principle of consumption tax. That was that tax should accrue to the jurisdiction where consumption takes place. Where the consumption takes place. We will discuss it by the way of example. Under the previous tax regime, if there is any person who is the dealer in the Delhi, if a dealer in Delhi purchase goods from the manufacturer in Punjab, if there is any person who is the person who is registered in the Delhi state and he's purchased some goods from a person who is registered in Punjab, then he will pay 1000 rupees for the goods plus 20 rupees as CST on such goods. So he will pay 1020 rupees and he will sell such goods to the another person within the Delhi for rupees 1200. The tax rate on sale is 12.5% and hence the output tax liability will be 150. 1200 into 12.5%. So the tax liability is 150. So he already paid 20 rupees as CST, but he is not eligible to take the credit of such 20 rupees for the payment of 150. He is not eligible to take the credit of such 20 rupees for the payment of such 150. But in the case of GST, you can adjust such amount of tax. But in the old tax regime, the amount of CST cannot be adjusted with the amount of sales tax. So, such 20 rupees is not allowed while making the payment of 150. Hence, such a such a dealer is required to pay total 150 to the government as VAT. Means he will pay such 150 to the state government as the amount of VAT. He cannot eligible to take the benefit or to take the credit of such 20 rupees. Non-inclusion of several local levy in state VAT, such as luxury tax, entertainment tax, etc. Is that there are some reasons when there is a requirement to introduce GST. Means now we will discuss in summarized form these reasons why there is a requirement to introduce GST. Number one, in the case of state, there are several taxes, just like entertainment tax, luxuries tax. These taxes are not included in the VAT. So in this case, there is a requirement to pay different taxes. Number two, cascading of taxes on the account of levy of non-batable CST. In the case of previous tax regime, there are the cascading of taxes. Is that the amount of CST cannot be adjusted with the VAT, or the VAT is applicable on the VAT is levy on the tax on the CST also, means sorry, on sand VAT also. Is that if there is any excise duty which is added in the value of goods, then the VAT is applicable on total amount, on the value of goods as well as the amount of excise duty. So there is the cascading effect. No sand VAT after the manufacturing stage. The person is not eligible to take the sand VAT after the manufacturing stage. Non-integration of VAT and service tax. In the case of previous tax law, there is no adjustment of VAT and service tax. Means we cannot adjust the amount of credit or VAT with the amount of service tax which is required to be paid. Means there is no adjustment. Double taxation of the transaction as both goods and services. Means there are some transactions which are considered as both goods and services. So in this case, double taxation is there. So these are the reasons due to which there is a requirement to introduce GST. There is a requirement to introduce GST. Next point is GST is cure for ill of adjusting indirect tax receipt. There are, in the previous slides, we have discussed some reason when there is a requirement to introduce, why there is a requirement to introduce GST. So the GST is a part, or it is a cue for the illness of existing indirect taxation. Means it is considered as a medicine. It is considered a medicine so that it can nullify the effect of existing indirect taxation. The GST is a tax which is applicable on goods as well as services. The GST is a tax which is applicable on both. It is applicable on goods as well as services. So it is to be known as goods and service tax. It is introduced at both central as well as state level. The GST is set at both the level, central level as well as state level, and there is the proper there is a proper chain of credit. There is a proper chain of credit. This is introduced for the purpose to set off relief and to ensure both the cascading effect of sandwich and the service tax are. The GST is introduced to remove that cascading effect and to remove the double taxation. It is introduced to remove the cascading effect, and it is introduced to provide them a proper chain of credit, so that there should not be any double taxation and there should not be any burden of the tax which is borne by the person double time. So the GST tax or the GST law is a law which is subsumed all the indirect taxes. Mainly indirect taxes are subsumed by the GST. So after the introduction of GST, there are no more taxes. Means the GST subsumed many of the indirect taxes. So in the case of manufacturing or in the sale of goods and the rendering of services, there are no longer and no more taxes are there. Only GST is available. Means now when there is any supply of goods, there is any supply of service, only GST is applicable. There is no different taxes which are required to be levied. Only a single transaction or only a single supply of goods or supply of services. Most of the indirect taxes are subsumed by the GST. So the GST is the work as a medicine to provide the relief. It is remove the cascading effect, and it is provide a continuous chain of credit, and it is remove the double taxation, and it is subsumed many of the indirect taxes. So on the basis of such discussion, we have understood some point which are relating to the GST. These all are the important points relating to the GST, and we have understood part 1 of introduction of GST. Other part of such topic we will discuss in our next class. Thank you so much for watching this video. Okay, bye bye and have a nice day.